How is it going, you lovely lot? Welcome back to Lewis FC. Last season, we concluded season number 10. Today, we are back, and my, oh my, there is £58 million in the bank balance. If we look at our recruitment budget, there is £53 million in the transfer budget. And of course, if you watched last episode, you know how things finished. We managed to win the FA Cup over Man City, but perhaps most importantly, we were able to secure third in the Premier League, which comes with a load of prize money, but perhaps most importantly, for the first time ever, we're playing in Europe, and even more importantly, it is Champions League football that awaits us. I find that exciting, but also a little bit terrifying. I was not planning the team over the last couple of seasons thinking this was where we were going to be at. And I'm a bit worried there's going to be some growing pains. Now, if we do just take a quick look at the first team, there are currently 24 players in the senior team. There are a few players in the under-21s that I could potentially look to promote. Zidane was out on loan this year at Sunderland, and I do really think that this guy has a long-term upside at the club. I'll be real with you, I'm almost tempted to try and get him another loan out for another year, which might seem a little bit crazy. But I do just feel like of all the positions currently in the first team, striker is really where I don't need anyone. We have a core of 4 players in Byrne, Laudrup, Kakayo and Aguiar that I trust, and Tuta is a great little young understudy who I feel like can come in the case of an emergency. Of course, we signed this guy in January. He's actually yet to play for the senior first team, but for the under-21s, he's got 17 goals and 9 assists playing in the Premier League under-21s in just 11 games. And he is improving, which is super, super exciting. I guess the alternative would be to maybe loan out Tuta and bring back Zidane. I don't know, there's a decision to be made there. But to be honest, when I look across the first team, I feel like there's almost decisions to be made absolutely everywhere. I feel like when you're looking to strengthen a team, sometimes it's immediately obvious where you want to improve the team. I look at my squad right now, and I'm actually really happy with it in multiple different areas. And I think we've got some really good, exciting young players on the bench whose development I don't want to stifle. And there might have to be some difficult decisions made this season. In terms of the top performers for the season just done, I'll tell you what, our midfield has been absolutely dominant this year. Cardozo leading the way in terms of the average rating. Great to see that from the captain. I did see in the comments at the start of the season some murmurings, people not believing in this man, but we have kept faith in the captain. And I'll admit it, you know, he's not the most crazy, dynamic player in the world, but I feel like he's a really, really well-rounded player, the 23-year-old, continuing to improve. And I do feel like based on the season he's just had, he is kind of untouchable in the first team right now. Elsewhere, Laudrup is right up there in terms of ratings. He is one of those players that I did start out on the fringes of the team, and a lot of his starts early on came against lesser teams where maybe he was able to stat pad a little. But I'll be real with you, I look at the striker and I just feel like he is the template for what you want from an attacker in the Football Manager match engine. He's quick, he's great in the air, he's got great finishing, dribbling, first touch. Maybe wish his heading was a little bit better. And based on how he ended the season, where he did start the final 4 games, I think it's safe to say he is going to be a nailed-on starter going into the next season. Elsewhere in the team, Claudio Ruiz with 14 assists and 7 goals from right midfield is absolutely stupendous. I know over the last few seasons when we've played with advanced wing-backs, they've always been a big contributor for us. And I can remember seeing a lot of comments when we kind of changed away from this system that we used previously to the new system. People were a little bit concerned that maybe we're giving up, you know, one of our fun strengths, the wide players really getting involved in the play. But actually, I feel like with this system, they've been even more involved. Maybe Sassi's level has dropped off a little out on the left-hand side, but you kind of look at his stats overall, 3 goals, 5 assists. It's not a super shameful display by any means. And in fact, if we do just sort by assists, you can see Cardozo and Ruiz are right up there. Sassi is in 4th, and it's actually Simon who is in, well, joint second, I guess you could say, behind Ruiz and Cardozo. Simon, of course, a really big player, I think, to bring into the team. His set pieces were great, but that wasn't where he got all of his assists from. Of course, this year he did suffer a little bit as the season went on, in terms of I did start to rotate him in for Victor. I think there's quite a few positions in the team where there's a really obvious first choice. This is maybe the first position, the channel midfielder position, where I have been alternating and kind of unsure of who to stick with the most. I actually went back to Simon more and more as the season went on. In terms of the stats per 90, I think Simon maybe has a slight edge, but it is kind of difficult to ignore the fact, and I know it's a little bit of a meme at this point, but Victor is only 18 years old and still improving, and with 5-star potential, obviously, there is always going to be that pressure to play him. It was something that I kind of struggled with a little bit, splitting these minutes between the two players. It's going to be one of the advantages of European football. Our team is all of a sudden going to have to be a lot more of a squad as opposed to a best 11. That's not to say that when you look at the players on the bench here, there wasn't plenty of players on off the bench who started a lot of games for us this year. But yeah, with European football guaranteed, we're going to be playing at least a minimum of 8 more games a season. And yeah, there is going to be more of a strain put on the side when it comes to congestion. And these players were maybe on the fringes are going to have to play more. And that, I guess, is going to be the challenge. Who of these players in the fringes are good enough to keep playing? Talked a lot about the midfield. I will say one player who didn't play well in terms of ratings, but I actually really rate, is Paulo Riu, the Mexican centre defensive mid. I feel like we just have to accept that the deep line playmaker within our system is never really going to get good ratings just because of, sadly, how Football Manager works. But I think it's impossible to ignore the fact that he has come into the team as a bit of a late arrival during that first transfer window. The season had already started. And what he offered defensively is something we've never really had in the defensive midfielder in past Lewis FC systems. It's weird actually, of all the different spots I have in the team, I kind of look at the midfield depth with Garcia and Bordalas in the wider areas, Suarez, who we brought in January, who I actually brought in to be more of a backup centre-back, but could definitely do a job as the understudy to Riu. And then even Blake Pearce and Addons, 2 players who are maybe a little bit of a drop-off, but I kind of look at especially Addons and do just feel like with his age, I need to try and play him more. There is definitely a temptation to loan out this guy going into next season. I think playing regularly in the Championship could be great for him. The only downside with that would be he is 1 year away from being homegrown at club, and of course we've now burst into the European scene. Just as a reminder, for a player to be homegrown at club, they have to stay here for 3 consecutive seasons before their 21st birthday. And in European competitions, you need to have 4 of your 25 kind of man squad be players homegrown at club. We have Nana and Maria Garcia who are already trained at club, and if we just look at players due to get homegrown at club, Jimenez is also going to get that this coming season. So in those instances, we've got 3 homegrown at club players. And with someone like Addons, he's been at the club for those 2 years now. It'd be a bit painful to loan him out and give up that status, but it's not entirely necessary for him to get it. And I think it could be a benefit to him. Obviously, I've been utilising loans quite a lot, and there's a couple of players that have been out on loan this year that I think highlight the fact that if you can get a good loan move for a player, it can be a massive, massive success. Jonas Lashoa has spent the year on loan at Sheffield Wednesday. He's still a little way away from being ready for our first team, but the 19-year-old as a centre-back option looks great. We picked him up for £250,000 last summer. Super exciting there. And another player who was out on loan who's not really been on my radar is Diame. I can't remember when I signed Diame. Can anyone remember? Apparently it was this season. Was it? I don't know. I feel like he was one of those players I signed because money was burning a hole in my pocket. But yeah, look at his development here. He is developing really, really nicely at Hull City. Still a little way from the first team, and given the fact he's already 20, is he ever going to be good enough for us? Not entirely sure. But there's no denying that if you can just get the right move for a player, someone who was perhaps never really in contention to play for the first team, all of a sudden, I don't know, I have a bit of optimism around him. The wild thing is, even if I do loan out David Adams, I don't know if I would need to necessarily sign a centre mid. I feel like we've already got enough depth and quality there. In fact, the midfield, when you look at it here, I think it's one of the best set up parts of our team. I think the absolute tippity top thing on my shortlist of kind of what I'd like to get this year would be a top quality goalie, but we discussed it earlier on this year. In this universe, there is just not many goalies. I don't know if that's a Football Manager thing where the regen goalies aren't that good. Nana is our first choice goalie right now. He is homegrown at club, and actually this year he averaged above a 7.0 rating, which I feel like in the league is a pretty monstrous achievement. But in terms of the understudy, of course, we did pick up Calero as a really cheap signing in January. I do like this guy as a centre-back. He is more than happy to be here as a backup, and of course we paid £600,000 for him. But if there was a top quality goalie and I had to knock both these players kind of down one spot in the totem pole, I'd be okay with that. I do feel like the centre-back position is an interesting one because I feel like it's a position where Gromman we've got to just persist with because he's such a hot prospect. Still allegedly has a load of potential to fulfil, which I guess is exciting, but given the fact we spent £34 million on him when we did, kind of hoping that's going to be the case. Already talked a little bit about Jimenez as I feel like a player that we can definitely rely on, homegrown at club, kind of the ideal backup who's continuing to improve. Alan Oliver was one of our better performing centre-backs this year. I feel like he's the kind of player who's probably not the super top elite world-class centre-back we need longer term, but I feel like he's good enough to at least have another year or two in the tank. I feel like how well-rounded his physicals are, and also just how he's performed in the match engine kind of plays into that. In terms of our centre-back, outside of Aguiar, who is listed as a centre-back, but obviously isn't, he's actually been the best performer in the team. Then, of course, there is Jagan and Washi. I don't know how to feel about Jaden. Jaden makes me feel conflicted because he scores own goals. He's made mistakes that are quite noticeable in the match engine. It's annoying because when you actually look at his actual ability, he looks superb. But if there was an option out there where I was looking to get in a new top quality player, maybe a centre-back to replace this man wouldn't be the worst idea. At the same time, he'd be a pretty amazing backup with where we're at right now, and I do feel like just his physicality really works well for our system. You might notice that with our centre-backs, I definitely prioritise the physicals over the technicals. I still want there to be at least kind of 13s in the marking, the tackling, the heading. But within our three-at-the-back system, the wide centre-backs have to cover a lot of ground. They need to have this technical ability, and I feel like all the players that we have in the team really have that framework. There was a point earlier in the year when a load of these players had interest in them, and to be fair, a load of them do still have interest in them. Jaden was one of the players who I had interest in, and I thought, maybe I could get rid of him. That interest has since vanished. And rather annoyingly, if you look across the team, with maybe one or two exceptions, I do feel like the valuations for our players are a little on the lower side. I don't know, maybe I'm greedy, maybe I'm overestimating how good our players are. I want more. 3 players hitting double figures this year. We definitely mixed up the minutes. I feel like it's safe to say the Danish international has locked down the striking spot over Aguiar in the team. Aguiar, of course, has always been a player who's lent on his physicals and his mental ability, and that is kind of really what's been his big strength. Laudrup is basically better in terms of physicals, but has these much better technicals to go with it. And whilst Aguiar did start the season as the main man, of course, Laudrup played the final 4 games of the season. He was pretty good in all of them. He also had the best average rating of all our strikers in the league. In terms of the other striking options, Graham Byrne did end up kind of playing as more of an understudy to Kakayo. I don't know if that's a controversial thing or not. It's worth noting, after Byrne got golden boot at the World Cup last summer, not been recalled to the England team since. I feel like that is entirely down to our club reputation too. But much like I kind of look at Aguiar and Laudrup as kind of 2 players competing for that spearhead of the attack role, I do look at Graham Byrne and Kakayo as maybe the 2 players competing for the false 9 role in the team. And I feel like you can kind of see it when you look at the comparison here. For me, at least, I feel like Kakayo is just that cut above. I feel like having 14 passing and 15 vision for a striker in our system is a really valuable thing. You might note there, as I've gone through kind of the squad rundown, I've painted almost every single player in a semi-positive light, and that is kind of the issue that I've got. I need to strengthen the team. I've got money to strengthen the team. But if I'm going to sign new players, someone has to drop out the team. The way I kind of like to imagine signing a player is if you sign a new centre-back, whoever was starting for you drops to the bench, and then that displaces the centre-back who's on the bench down the pecking order further. And I feel like I'm in a situation now where whoever gets knocked down the pecking order right at the bottom probably has to leave the club and be sold. And not to get sentimental, but it's something I almost really don't like the idea of, because I like where our squad depth is at. I think I'm going to have to be a little bit brutal. In terms of the positions I think are untouchable, I feel like Sassi and Ruiz in the wide areas are great, and I like Bordalas and Garcia as the backups. I feel like Bouabré has a great understudy in Victor. I feel like Cardozo at centre mid kind of has Pearce for a bit of competition to be that more attacking midfielder for us. Striking-wise, I've already kind of discussed why I'm happy. The temptation, and I hate to say it, might be to look to sell on Aguiar while his stock is at his absolute highest. You know, he's 25 years old now, approaching his prime. I can't really imagine his value getting much higher than it is right now. And I hate to say it, he has probably just hit his limit in terms of ability. I mean, when you look at the career he's had at the club over the last 5 years, he has played in the team on the regular, led the line, but that has just been a very apparent drop-off having reached the Premier League. I don't necessarily want to force him out because there's no active interest in him right now. But given the fact he's vice-captain, he's got a perfectionist personality, that is really useful from a tutoring point of view of how young our team is, which is kind of another reason to keep him around, which makes it all the more tricky. I almost want to sit down with him here and just say, mate, are you happy being a fringe player? And actually, if I change the playing time there, I didn't get the warning message telling me not to do it. If he's happy to be the 5th choice, maybe that just opens up the opportunity to bring in a striker anyway. Quite what that would mean for Tutor, I'm not entirely sure. I guess in an ideal world, I would knock Tutor down a team. He doesn't want to be knocked down to be a breakthrough prospect. If I make him a fringe player, I can try and convince him to do it and see what he says. Okay, you know what? He's fine with being a fringe player, so maybe we're finagling our way through this situation. Annoyingly in Football Manager, when you do that meeting with a player and get them to agree their playing time, you then still have to manually go to the exact same bit and just click on fringe player and do it. Why that doesn't apply the squad status change as you complete the meeting, I don't know. I think it's a bug. But now I'm going to knock Tutor down to the under-21s because that's probably going to be where he's at. I don't know what to do with Alio Silva as well. This guy's 20 years old. I didn't really mention him earlier because he's just this ultimate backup player for us. He's eligible to be homegrown at club in another year's time, a little bit like Addons. My concern is, though, if I wait a year to loan him out, that's probably going to stifle his development. At the same time, I just can't find a spot for him regularly playing for me right now, but I do feel like he has the potential to be a really good centre-back. It kind of pains me a little bit. I think I'm going to try and loan him out too. Going to demote him down to the under-21s. Now, annoyingly, it's not even June yet, so I'm not going to be able to attract loan interest in these players yet, but it's good to get the preparations done. And to be fair, in the case of David Addons, he is still listed as a breakthrough prospect, so if I'm going to loan him out, I think I can move him down to the under-21s anyway, and that probably makes the most sense. And he's not going to kick up a fuss about it. I will apologise for the yap session of squad building and squad planning to start today's video. Obviously, last episode we played 4 matches live, and we didn't really put a bow on the season and talk about the squad that we have right now. I feel like now I've laid the foundations for what awaits us in terms of this transfer window. Going to come back in a couple of days on the 1st of June. Obviously, maybe some players we can pick up with a month left on their contract, and also it'd be nice just to have a look at what might be available to us this summer. Okay, it's the 1st of June in game. The transfer window doesn't actually open until the 16th, and also there's an international tournament this year. What's going on in 2035? I say this purely because I got informed that Gromman was being called up for international duty. Oh, okay, it's the Nations League playoff bit at the end of the year. That makes sense. I was confused by the fact it was an odd number year and there was something going on in the summer. You can see here, by the way, Jesus Maria Garcia won the Young Player of the Month. Is it just me, or does Maria Garcia as a young player just feel weird? He's 22. I feel like he's been around forever. The reality is he's only been around now for 4 seasons at the club. I mean, what a signing he ended up being for £245,000. Like, this guy was top quality in our end of season running. I'll be real with you, prior to that, he'd been pretty disappointing this year. Simon, by the way, also won Player of the Month with 3 goals and 2 assists through those final 3 games. We really did peak well at the end of the season. Anyway, like I already mentioned, our recruitment budget this year sits at a very, very healthy £53 million. We are right up, or at least close to being up, against our wage budget. I think once the various players I loaned out earlier on this season return, we will probably go over our wages. So with that in mind, I'm going to preemptively rejig things a little. And outside of the case of Ziddy, when we look at some of these older players out on loan, especially these players who are only 2-star current ability, there's quite a lot of players here that I think we need to try and maybe sell and cash in on. Like, with respect to someone like Valentin Diop, he has struggled to play for Middlesbrough in the Championship. I was hoping that in playing for them, he might drum up a bit of interest in him. Unfortunately, it's not quite happened in terms of there's a lack of interest and a lack of football. But yeah, if we could get £10 million from him, it'd be really good. And in fact, with a lot of these players we've got loaned out, you know, their values are not small by any means. And if they all add up a little bit, we could actually generate some really nice supplementary funds once these players return from loan. Annoyingly, that is not going to be until the end of the month. One man who's been out on loan that I know some of you might be a bit curious about is Bendel. He, of course, was a centre mid that we brought in and I had really high hopes for, but ultimately just wasn't playing enough for us in his second season at the club. Played 18 games in the first season, and I like the look of him when we signed him. He has really not progressed at all, so if we could sell him on for a profit, I'd be very, very happy. Anyway, rather than talking about selling, let's talk about buying. And I don't know about anyone else, there's 2 things I like to do at the start of the transfer window. One is sort players by ability, of which there's a 19-year-old here, and then the other thing is just sort players by value and scouting recommendations to see what might be out there. Mikael Ringa is a goalie rated Apparently, highly. I say that because of his value. £76 million of this is shocking. Okay, you know what? I think we have to look at Tadal Sadiq immediately. You might have noticed his name was in orange. I have already had an eye on him. Spoilers. I knew this guy existed. He's very good. Annoyingly, he has the same face as Sassy and Grommen. And I don't know if I can bring myself to have a third player with the same face, which obviously is the downside of the regen face pack. There isn't a way around it without changing all the regen faces at this point. I mean, we could just pretend they're a trio of triplets. I mean, this guy does look absolutely superb. The numbers he's been putting in Saudi Arabia are top quality. The issue is he's a left attacking mid. I could maybe play him as a winger in our system, but he really, really lacks that ability, I think, to play as a tracking wide midfielder, which he'd have to play for us. He would just be a liability without the ball. I was looking through some of these players at the top here. They've not really jumped out to me, but there was a goalie here. This guy who plays for Marseille, Alejandro Minambres. I hope I'm saying that correctly. 26 years old, Spanish goalie. He actually looks really, really good. My scouts rate him super, super highly as well. Clearly ahead of Nana. The things I like about him, firstly, great goalie. Super consistent, enjoys big matches too. That's a great combo for a keeper. I actually believe, and this is more just personal preference, I suppose, and just anecdotal evidence, I think important matches matters most for goalkeepers. I definitely feel like if you have a goalie that hates important matches, it's a problem. I'm looking at Alejandro here. He is really good at the things that a goalie needs to be good at. Like, I look at his mentals in the important areas, they are great. Great one-on-ones, great reflexes, great aerial reach, great jumping reach. I'm looking at this price and wage kind of stuff as well. He might be the boy. Probably worth looking at just what other goalies are out there that are scouted. But yeah, it's always good, I feel like, to try and get some transfer business done early before the transfer window opens kind of globally. I do feel like once that happens, it becomes a lot harder to sign players uncontested. I mean, Mathieu is the other man who's rated kind of 4-star current ability from my scouts that I've got scouted in terms of goalies. But you look at his wage demands and also just his value and his age, and it just doesn't really make sense. And I'm looking at all the other goalies here. They're much older, with the exception of Emiliano Gomez here, who is the River Plate goalie, who I remember showing previously in an episode, and he's not great. Or Juan Carlos Sepulveda, who, I mean, he's the Chile national team goalie, but I will just quickly compare him to the man that we just looked at, who isn't in my shortlist yet. Give me a moment. But if we do just compare Juan Carlos and Alejandro, I think the difference between the two players is very, very obvious. He's 26 as well. You know, we'd get a lot of game time and a lot of just of a career, I suppose, out of Alejandro as a potential number one. 18 to 22 million pounds is not a tiny amount of money. He wants to be an important player. He does want a minimum release clause. I'm going to ask, can we keep everything up to negotiations? And he's agreed to that. Now that I've turned up and made an offer to Marseille, they're actually asking for more than what I was told they were going to want. 22 million pounds, they're going to accept that. He's asked to leave the club because he wants a new contract. It's interesting to note, he's clearly been Marseille's first choice goalie this year. He kept 17 clean sheets in 30 games, which is really, really solid. There was another goalie whose name I can't remember. I'm now going to have to go and find this goalie. I think he's probably on my short list here. Do we have him? It's this guy, Francisco Macedo or Macedo. He's on loan from Benfica at Nottingham Forest. I really like the look of him just because he's quite well-rounded and he was only 21 when I first stumbled upon him. He has now turned 22. This guy is a great goalie, but 41 to 61 million pounds is a whole lot of money. I will say he's kind of competitive with Alejandro in terms of ability, but I mean, Alejandro's like going to be a third of the price. I definitely think this man's going to end up being one of the best goalies in the save game, but I just can't justify the kind of money that it would probably be required to sign him. I guess we can have a chat about it. Yeah, 63 to 93 million. Not going to work, is it? I'll tell you what, I really want to just get this Minambres deal done. If I get this deal done, it will be the big problem point I think my team has going into this window sorted almost immediately. Happy enough to make him first choice keeper. He wanted to lock in originally a release clause. I can remove and exclude it. His wage demands have crept up a little. I'm going to try and compensate for the removal of that release clause with a longer contract and a bigger loyalty bonus. just because of how good this guy is, I'm kind of tempted to throw a little bit more money at him. Like, I've had a long look for goalies over the last few years. This guy is comfortably the best I've looked at. I'm going to tell him if he plays 10 games for the Spanish national team, he can go on to £80,000 a week. Obviously, money we're not strapped for, so I'm just going to max out his loyalty bonus and agent fee. I know because I've removed the release clause and tried to extend his contract, he might kick back a little bit here, but let's see what he's saying. Yeah, he has kicked back a little bit here. I mean, the reality is £70,000 for a Premier League team is still actually a relatively cheap wage for a starter. I'm going to go and match the £70,000 that he's asked for. I'm going to up the contract length, and I'm also going to increase the wages if he plays 10 games for Spain to £90,000. Okay, we're slowly getting there, I think. I'm going to play hardball with him a little bit. I am desperately hoping that once we get a new stadium sorted, the finances of the club will just rocket up. Obviously, we are kind of restricted right now by the fact we can only sell 5,000 tickets per match. I am in final last chance saloon with these negotiations. I don't want to mess it up. So I'm just going to offer him 73,000. I'm going to accept the fact I can only offer him a 3-year deal and hope that maybe, a year into his current contract, we can lock him down onto a longer term contract. You know what? I'm going to put this to 75,000, partially because it's a nice round number, but also because I had to lower the agent fee a little. Let's suggest this. He's accepted that. Oh, it's a lot of money for a goalie. I will be expecting him to be a match winner on occasion. But there is so much to like about this guy. The mentals are absolutely crazy for kind of what I need. Right now, I do play with a ball-playing goalkeeper. I mean, look, he's got 11 kicking and 8 passing. It's not top drawer, I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but with the composure he has, I think actually he can do this role for us. There's no other interest in him as far as I can see right now. I want to get this deal done as quickly as possible. Marseille were able to sign him, by the way, for £1.6 million. That is an insane bargain, isn't it, for this guy? They're going to make mad money off me. I have just remembered one of the reasons I came back on this date was to just see if any players were available as free transfers with a month left on their contract. If I sort by world reputation here, there is a load of players, actually. I mean, they're all older players, admittedly. As tempting as signing Sandro Tonali for the thumbnail would be, I imagine the fact he's currently on £275,000 is going to mean his wage demands are a little outside of my wheelhouse. I know back when we were in the Championship, we kind of joked about the fact we were trying to sign Championship players with a League 2 transfer budget. I feel like right now I'm trying to sign Champions League players with kind of a relegation candidate budget. And players who want to play in the Champions League want quite a lot of money. Have just stuck in an age limit of age at most 25 on these players that are running down their contracts, just in case there is someone absolutely crazy out here. Admittedly, though, we are kind of entering that era of the save game, I feel like, where I'm now looking for Champions League quality players. Like when you're in the National League, there's probably thousands of players that could do a job for you. With the situation we're now in, there's probably like, I don't know, 300 to 500 players in the entire game world actually of the level I'm looking for. I think that makes the transfer specials easier and harder. Easier because actually finding players is like, a little simpler, but harder in the sense that, you kind of feel like if you mess up negotiations, there's no plan B. Okay, I'm going to be real with you. There are no players good enough with contracts expiring. I did think it might be a little ambitious. I have just ditched the contract status expiring in a month kind of filter, but if we just look at players aged almost 25 sorted by world reputation, there's actually quite a lot of players here that I don't have scouted. The question is, do I not have them scouted because they weren't interested in joining me before, or do I not have them scouted because, well, they're just not very good? I'll tell you what, Martin Østrup here looks pretty fun. 30 caps for Denmark at the age of 24. Can play centre-back. I mean, he's got the physicals to play in the wider area for me. I love the 19 jumping reach. He's almost 200 centimetres tall. He's actually quite fun. I don't necessarily feel like he's a massive upgrade, though, on what I already have. I mean, it turns out as current centre-backs, Grommen and Ngwashi Oliver, I feel like they're all of a very similar level. If I look at someone like Ngwashi and compare him with the man we just looked at, I don't know, I feel like Ngwashi is just that little bit better. I do realise the way in which I found Ngwashi was looking at teams relegated from the Premier League. I've not actually looked at the teams that were relegated this year to see if any of them have any good players. Admittedly, right, Wolves and Bristol City were just freshly promoted from the Championship and have gone straight back down. But Swansea had splashed a little bit of money. Admittedly, right, due to how they kind of crashed out and went straight back down, I have got kind of a bit of a skepticism as to how good their squad actually is. I'll be real with you, I'm looking through their team here, I'm starting to realise why they went down. They did not recruit very well, and actually a load of their players are now leaving the club. I remember Alex Evans I looked at last summer as a potential transfer, I think for around £15 million. He moved to Swansea for £12 million, he's now got this release clause active. I'm going to be real with you. I feel like it would have been a mistake to buy this guy in retrospect. I think he is just a level below where we're looking now. We were just looking at Martin Erstup. Another player who I did look at one point was Jacob Whale from FC Copenhagen. There was actually quite a few players in the Danish national team who looked quite good last year. I didn't go in for that many of them in the end. And maybe that was a good idea. I'm just looking at them all. They kind of fall into that similar bracket to Alex Evans. Good, but not really an upgrade on what we have. I don't know if it excites me or it scares me a little that we're kind of in a situation now where I think it's going to be harder to find players. Hear me out. Let's sign Mohamed Salah. It is technically Mohamed Salah. Just not the one you're thinking of. Can I now put Mo Salah in the thumbnail and everyone is fine with that? I think it's fine. I'm going to do it. You can't stop me. I've just spotted a familiar face here. Vladimir Velikovic. I've definitely said his name wrong. Remember when we had this guy on loan for a little bit? I still maintain he's actually a very, very good player. He's been playing more for Milan this year than previously. 24 appearances in Serie A. Admittedly, he's not played very well in them. He's 22 years old now. I mean, he is such a good little player. I'd be tempted if his value wasn't so high. Okay, Alejandro Minambres deal delayed due to a work permit. I mean, he is going to get that given to him. I've said that with such confidence. Imagine if he doesn't get a work permit now. That would be incredibly awkward. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we have a goalkeeper. 23 million. For us, financially, it's a massive investment, right? For most Premier League teams, it's a drop in the ocean. Like, Sunderland got nearly promoted in real life and spent like £150 million. Our budgets are kind of still kind of funny. I'm looking forward to moving out the dripping pan just for the finances. But in terms of this guy as our keeper, I really like the look of him. Maybe I wish his communication was a little bit better, but aerial reach, one-on-ones, reflexes, handling, the mentals, there's a hell of a lot to like. Okay, well, the transfer window for English clubs has now opened. Admittedly, it is still only the 16th of June, and for most leagues, the window is not going to open for another 2 weeks, but maybe we'll start to get some interest in our players. And well, with the window opening for us, Minambres can join the club. Welcome, our new starting keeper. I really like the look of this guy. Unfortunately, whilst this might be good news, I did just spot Napoli have made an offer for Grommen. It is a non-negotiable deal that totals 58 million, but it's only worth an initial 45 million pounds, which when you look at Grommen's valuation, makes it feel like an awful deal for us. Naturally, I'm going to reject this bid. I don't even know what I would consider an acceptable offer for Grommen. When we first signed him, there was a release clause in his contract. We were very swiftly able to negotiate that out. And yeah, the reality is he's contracted here for 4 years. We are not in a position where we need to sell. I am hoping when it comes to players like Grommen, because we've got Champions League football to look forward to, maybe their head won't be turned too much if I do reject bids from kind of, other European titans. Brighton make Jimenez offer. Oh, I already know. This is going to be annoying, isn't it? And also, West Ham make a Jesus Maria Garcia offer too. I mean, Jesus Maria Garcia is pretty much untouchable. He's homegrown at club. He's a really useful backup. And yeah, I have no plans to sell him. He actually has an optional contract extension clause of 3 years. So essentially, he's got a 6-year contract at the club. If he wasn't homegrown at club, I might weigh up this a little more for maybe a little bit more money, but it's just not worth it here. As for the Jimenez bid, Brighton have made an offer that's non-negotiable. I hate non-negotiable offers. 30 million they've offered in total for Jimenez. I don't really want to sell this guy. Lots and lots of projected potential. Have noticed Chelsea, Bayern Munich interested in him. That really screams to me that he must have some good potential. His current contract still has 3 years on it, much like Jesus Maria Garcia. It also has an optional 3-year extension. I mean, unless something monstrous comes in, got no intention of selling this man. Oh, and some good news. I did see a few people mention a worry with this. We're passing FFP, so that's a big thumbs up there. To be fair, we actually make quite a lot of money, I feel like, as a football club. Of course, we're spending a lot of it on players, but in general, when there's just the wages being paid for and the TV revenue and stuff coming in, our trajectory is really positive financially. Jimenez wants to talk to Brighton. Of course he does. Look, the valuation wasn't good enough. What's going to make you stay? I want to feel like I'm an integral part of the side. If you can convince me that I'm a star player. He's not a star player, though, is he? I could lie to him and say he is, but that's just going to make him unhappy down the line. I mean, naturally, I'm just going to say, you're too important to leave. Your stubbornness is going to cost you here, Jimenez. You're not going. He's literally about to become homegrown at club. There's no release clause. He's got a long-term deal here. Yeah, he can cry all he wants. He's here to make up the numbers on the quota. Bournemouth have made a bid for Laudrup. I'm not even going to read the details of it, although I can tell it's insulting. And, I've seen this. Lewis announced relocation completion. The Lewis board have announced the completion of the club's move to the Lewis Stadium, which the club will start renting with immediate effect. We're renting a stadium. We're renting a stadium we've built. It's a 16,000 all-seater stadium. I mean, I was hoping it would be a bit bigger. 16,000 is not many seats. I mean, you know what? Let's be grateful we've got a new stadium. Should I just immediately ask for them to make it bigger? 15,000 seats isn't enough. Yeah, you know that stadium we built? Really, really appreciate it. Well, we can actually ask them to buy the stadium. Let's do that, and then let's ask to expand it too. Why do we not own the stadium we've built? I'm going to assume I won't be able to buy the stadium, but I want to be able to dream. West Ham have come in with a new bid for Jesus Maria Garcia. Reject. Leave me alone. We have got a handful of players here with contracts expiring. Alonso was a player who came through our youth intake, who I'm going to be real with you. At one point I thought was going to be amazing, and he's just not. And elsewhere, a couple of players who at different points in time have been regular members of the first team. Charlie Hardy, former starting goalie, is going to be departing. And elsewhere, Creti is also leaving the club. I really liked Creti when we signed him. He did that kind of emergency backup job for us in the Championship, did it again last year, with us moving to wide midfielders. Obviously, just not a spot for him in the team. Lewis enjoys small reputation boost. Does that mean he's actually moved up? I assume we're going to get a much bigger boost this coming year, with us now playing in the Champions League. Where are we in the list? Oh my word, we make the first page. Barely, but we are up there. Also, we are ahead of Oxford United and Wrexham, both promoted to the Premier League. I don't know if it's Wrexham's first time promoted to the Premier League in this save game, and sadly, I can't tell you, because the league history graph just doesn't work for me in this save. And I don't know why. It just doesn't work. FM26. Oh my word, we get £40,000 because Alberto Rodriguez has joined Chivas. I mean, thank you very much for that. How much did we sell him for? We sold him for 3.2 million. He's moved on for more than that twice now. Didn't really think about it. We're going to play in the Community Shield, aren't we? Oh, that's going to be a fun way to start the season. Okay, the board have got the expectations here for the Champions League. Do I think I can do better than reaching the league table stage? If I increase it, okay, we get £300,000 if I increase that, so we're not going to change that. Elsewhere, Premier League, we're going to get a top half finish. Apparently last year we finished first in the Premier League. Don't remember that happening. FA Cup, I mean, I'd like to think we go quite far in the FA Cup, but the prize money, well, not prize money, the transfer budget raise for kind of increasing the kind of expectation really just isn't worth it. Another fact, our expectation for the Community Shield is perform to a fair level of respectability. Can someone explain to me what that means? The board would like to hold a meeting in order to discuss potentially buying the Lewis Stadium. We believe this to be something that may help the club's long-term strategy. I mean, I agree. I asked for us to buy the stadium. We'd like your opinion on whether or not we should buy the stadium. Yeah, I love that idea. Nice one. Let's buy the ground. They're pleased to announce that plans are afoot to purchase the stadium. How much is this going to cost us? I feel like they should have told me how much it was going to cost before I told them I want us to buy our ground. Also, I don't really understand why we're buying the stadium that we've just built ourselves. I mean, who owns it, actually? It says here, the council. Well, I want it off the council then, don't I? I don't think I've ever remember having to buy the stadium before in Football Manager. Have you ever done it? Please let me know. We are going to receive £84 million in Premier League TV money, something I've not really mentioned. Champions League money is not insignificant. That is going to be even more Muller in our bank balance. I've been told now that the board have turned down my request to buy the stadium. But we've just agreed to buy the stadium already. Shall I discuss the board with us buying the stadium again? I'd like us to buy the stadium. We've already had this conversation. I feel like I shouldn't click anything because this probably is just a bug, isn't it? Clearly this is an issue that's close to your heart and your continued devotion to the cause is impressive. They're going to buy the stadium. But we've already agreed to this, Jordan, yesterday. Also, the stadium is going to be expanded for 8 million smackaroonies. Construction will begin at the end of the season, hopefully be completed by December. We're adding in 7,000 seats immediately. They really should have just built the stadium bigger to begin with. Bournemouth make another Laudrup offer. Why are they doing this? Leave me alone. He's not for sale. Also, speaking of Laudrup, Premier League signings of the season. Morten Laudrup, number 1. Simon is in at number 2. We love that. £16 million we paid for Morten Laudrup. I don't know about you, but I just look at his overall ability. I think that's going to be an absolute bargain in retrospect. Al Nassr chase Graham Byrne. Now, Byrne is actually, in terms of value, one of our most valuable players. Tell you what, if a Saudi team was to bid 50 million, it'd be very hard to say no, given the fact he's probably our 3rd or 4th choice striker. I've just offered Byrne out for an unspecified amount. I want to see if there's any nibbles. Man City confirmed Shrek capture. Man City have captured Shrek. I mean, someone let DreamWorks know. I'll tell you what, Shrek is love, Shrek is life. Oh my word, Julian Shrek. Oh, he's good, isn't he? I've got to play him in the Community Shield soon. I wish I hadn't spotted this transfer happened. I just clicked on it because funny name. Al Ahly's step-up chase for Byrne and offers have been made. These are not small bids. Freiburg have offered me £25 million, and then it's another 25 million over, well, a long old time. Freiburg, if you give me... how greedy do I get here? How much money do Freiburg realistically have? I should probably check. Have you had a Tycoon takeover, Freiburg? You haven't. I don't know where they've got all this money from. They're 8th in the Bundesliga. We'll call it 60 million Freiburg. Oh, I was meant to change the instalments, but I forgot to do it. But there is now the option in Football Manager to mortgage the instalments, isn't there? So you get all the money up front. I mean, you know what? 60 million in the bag. That does make me feel like now I can be a bit greedy with Al Ahly here. They've bid 48 million. I'm going to say 75 million. Got too greedy, didn't I? I mean, you know what? We've got a bidder now of 60 million pending on this guy. I think we just offer him out for clubs for like 65. See if we can get like a little bit of a bidding war going. Not gonna lie, a little bit annoyed that I forgot to change it from 6 installments to 1 installment, but maybe Freiburg wouldn't have bid the 60 million then. Even with those installments super spread out, like I said, there is now the option, I think, to mortgage the installments in Football Manager, which lots of teams do in real life. It means they get all the money up front, but it's slightly less that you get. 60 million for this guy is too much to turn down, isn't it? A load of players are about to finish their loans, and then I've got to offer them all out as well. Also, I did forget to mention it. The Premier League season tickover date has happened. I mentioned the fact that Wrexham and Oxford have been promoted. I'm trying to remember who the other team was who was promoted. Okay, the other team was Nottingham Forest. As for predictions, we're predicted to be 11th right now, which I actually don't think is that bad. All I'm going to say is 11th is higher than we were predicted to finish last year. And interestingly to note, Alejandro, the goalie, is considered our key player. I think that's a very good sign. I mean, if I'm thinking that Aguiar is going to be more of a backup this year, which I think he will be given the fact we've lowered his playing time to fringe player and Byrne is about to leave, it might be strikers I'm looking for again this summer. With the youngster Addons probably going out on loan, there's also another gap in the team, probably for a centre mid. I mean, I've got to remind myself, right now the senior first team is 21 players. We've got European football this coming year. There is going to need to be some reinforcements brought in. Okay, there are a load of players here that have returned from loan. I'm going to go and offer them all out. Players like Lennis here, great when we first picked him up, just not good enough anymore. I will say, in the case of Lennis, I was hoping his value would be a little higher than it is. 1.6 to 3.2 million feels low. Nathan Morrissey, let's see if we can get any bids for you. Valentin Diop, mon ami, je suis très désolé. I think that's correct. I'm very sorry. You need to leave. I forgot that we signed Vukovic in the winter transfer window. He's very good, although I think he's declined a bit since he joined. Ortiz, I'm sorry, mate. You are never going to be good enough to play for us. I need to sell you now while you're still 20 and perceived as young. Tyreek here is a good little right back, but he's never going to play for me, is he? He's 22. Need to sell. Can you remember when I signed Gustavo Baez? I remember when I signed him. He was 18 years young and I was so excited by him. He's just finished a season in League 2. He was not worth the money we paid for him. There's a few players as well who were kind of punty signings I made when we first got promoted to the Premier League. Simon is one of them. We signed him for 2.8 million, which was not a cheap amount. He's 21. He's not really improved. I'm hoping we're not going to make a loss on him, but I don't know. With these players, like you sign maybe 10 of them, if 1 or 2 of them work out, you make your money back. We'll try and avoid a loss. It might be inevitable, sadly. I actually think Christian Bendel could still be quite good, but I'm not sure he's going to realise that potential playing for us, and I think there's a risk that if I don't try and sell him now, I don't get anywhere near my 3.8 million back, and given his current value, I think trying to sell him is probably quite sensible. Now, Rodrigo Samaniego has played for the Paraguay national team. He's 20 years old. I loaned him to League One for the second half of last year, and he didn't play for Gillingham. His value is so blooming high, I need to just try and sell him. I'm a bit concerned with some of these high-value players that actually, the value that I'm getting given for them is completely unrealistic to what I'm going to get in return. I am wondering with Diame here, who just finished his loan spell at Hull, I might just try and sell him while his stock is high. He had a good loan spell. Admittedly, it was in League One. If anyone's paying £12 million for a player because they had a good season in League One, it'd probably be silly not to take the money. I don't know if I've ever offered out so many players like on the same day of Football Manager before. I feel like I'm offering out all these players and I'm really setting myself up for disappointment in terms of kind of what bids we're actually going to get for them. Right, let's hit continue. I've offered out so many players. Give me some bids. Al Ahly have made a bid for Cardozo. That's not the bid I wanted to see. They've offered me quite a lot of money. I'm going to reject it. I'm going to reject. You've just signed a new deal, Cardozo. Also, Bayern Munich have made an offer for Jimenez. No. I mean, the thing with Jimenez is, because he's homegrown at club, he's worth something that money can't buy. I can't buy a replacement homegrown at club player, so I can't sell him. Cardozo wants to discuss personal matters. I don't like this. You've just signed a new deal. The sort of money they're offering is life-changing, and I have to consider that. £65,000 a week is pretty bloody life-changing, Emerson. I'm going to be honest, mate. You've just signed this new deal. You signed this new deal, I think it tells me, on the 10th of May. And it's now the start of July. It's 2 months ago. Let's discuss figures here. £375 a week. I mean, why are we here? Let's be realistic here. I could tell him it's not out of the question and we'll get finalised in the negotiations. Oh, it's a bit high. He's gone down to £350,000. Mate, that is literally more than a quarter of my wage budget. The worst thing for him here is he signed a long-term deal with an optional contract extension. He's here for like 7 or 8 seasons. I mean, he is the captain, so it could be a bit of a concern in terms of his unhappiness bleeding across, but he'll get over it. He will get over it. I feel like today's episode's been a lot of the foundational work ahead of, like, well, now the window really opening and things getting into full swing. We've got a £60 million burn sale going on that I've kind of forgotten about. I'm hoping we're going to get some bids for some of our other players. Leipzig step-up chase for Laudrup? Absolutely not. Stoke made the offer to loan Stamenkovic for the year. I actually really like Stamenkovic here, but he definitely needs some regular first-team football somewhere that I can't give him. He would eventually, I think, get homegrown at club, but, I mean, what is this loan spell? Important player playing for Stoke in League One? I mean, he is way above League One level, but actually just dunking on League One players would probably be quite good for a season for him. Also, we've got our pre-season training camp in Singapore. Just auto-select. I'll tell you what, if you do not auto-select your pre-season in training camps and you pick them yourself, you probably should be on a register. That's mental behaviour. I've got 9+ on the transfer activity. Okay, there are offers coming in. I'm hoping these are transfer bids, not loans. How much are these going to be worth? Oh, gosh. Okay, well, Matis Arenas had a transfer value of 10.5 million. These offers are not 10.5 million... but it's probably money I should just take. To be fair, we signed him for 1.8 million. So if I'm selling him for, what was it, 4.7? That kind of feels fine. This other offer is more money up front and a little less conditional. So I'll be real with you. I'm just going to accept both and he can pick where he wants to go. Diame here is the man who was on loan at Hull. Bristol City, was it, have made a massive offer. West Brom have not offered as much, so we'll turn that one down. Bristol City, I mean, this is... if you do 8 would work for me. 8 million for Diame sounds great. We signed him for £185,000 12 months ago. Selling him for 8 million. I know it's not quite the 15 million I wanted. Still pretty good. I am just going to go through all these other offers here. Someone like Samaniego, I mentioned the fact that his value of like 8 million was just unrealistically high. I'm going to have to take a loss on him, but you know what? It's a little bit of money recouped. Christian Bendel. Christian Bendel's an interesting one because he's still actually quite good in terms of current ability. Part of me wonders, do we loan him out for another year if I can't get money that I'm happy with? We signed him for 3.8 million. I mean, the offers here are more than that. If I want to find the positive, Rapid Vienna have offered me a non-negotiable 5 million with a 20% profit sell-on. Stern Graz, no sell-on. But it is just 6 million, so I'm not losing money. I think this is one where I'm going to reject it and probably look to loan him out for another year. I mentioned not thinking we'd get back the 2 million for Simon. We're not getting back the 2 million for Simon. But you know what? We've got more than $1 million back. It's fine. Tyreek, we signed for £400,000 and load out a load. He's had an offer of 3.5 million. I can't negotiate up. I'm going to take the money and run. I am shocked by Jose Luis Ortiz's offers here. Because, when I signed him, I thought he was going to be really good, and he's not been very good. We signed him for 1.4 million. There was an offer here, I think, from a team in Ecuador of 7.5 million. I mean, I am just going to take that one and reject the others. And Valentin Diop, I wanted more money for Valentin Diop, if I'm going to be honest. This guy, I really like him. I do really like him. I signed him for 2.3 million. I mean, I can save my blushes and double my money with Varane, but it is just locked in. Nonce have actually offered me more with the kind of installments. I'm just going to take that money. 5.6 million's fine. I think under other circumstances, I probably could get more money for some of these players, but I mean, these are the circumstances we're in. This is the hand we've been dealt. Morrissey, £8.5 million for him. Doesn't seem that unreasonable. I signed this guy for, I think, a bit of a premium from Norwich when we bought him. Yeah, it was 10 million we bought him for. If I could get 10 million back, that would be nice. I might be being a bit cheeky here, but you never know. 40% of any profit would be good too. They've accepted that. I've not lost any money. I'm pleasantly surprised actually with how many of the players there did get offers for them. I'm not going to pretend any of them are super substantial sums of money, but I don't know. It's going to give us some spending power going into Monday's episode. Bendel wants to leave, but I told him they didn't offer enough. I'm going to say £13 million. If someone bids that, you can go this year. I probably will just loan him out. Outside of signing a goalie, today's just been a lot of planning and rejecting bids and dealing with unhappiness. Speaking of which, Jimenez, new offer Bayern Munich. Go away! Okay, Simon leaving the club for £1.1 million. I actually think that's quite a good return. And well, hopefully he's going to be the first of many of these under-21 players that I'm just selling en masse. I am wondering, with Byrne leaving, what am I going to do about the striking position? I probably should have planned a bit more about it in advance, shouldn't I? I mean, QPR did fail to get promoted again. Do they still have their pair of strikers? Capellino is still at the club. What was the name of their other striker? I'm trying to remember. I mean, Capellino here for 18 million might be a bit of a bargain buy. Was it Turnbull? Oh, Blake Turnbull, he's already gone to Aston Villa, although he's now loan listed immediately. They've signed him Why is he loan listed? He might need to acclimatise to his new surroundings. He's just moved from London to the Midlands. Can I just loan him? If I could just loan him to be my backup, that would be nice. Loan offers can't be made at this time. What's the loan rule that I'm going to break if I loan him? I don't even know what the loan rule is. Does anyone know what the loan rule is I'd break if I loan him? Answers on a postcard. I really just want to get some closure on the Byrne situation, and then that will be me set up for a weekend of thinking about transfers and trying to work out how I'm going to spend all the money we've got. A new era is about to dawn for Lewis supporters as the club will get its first look at their brand new stadium. Oh, we love this. We're welcoming in Rangers for a friendly. Does Suljic still play for them? I don't think he does. Oh, he's gone to Villarreal. Oh, the game's gone. I mean, he's a great centre-back. How much did they pay for him? 26 million. Maybe I should have bought him. I say that, to be fair, he's just not good enough technically, I think, to play in our system. Oh, Morrissey and Ramirez have turned down the transfers I lined up for them. I mean, that's bloody annoying, isn't it? I'm a little bit paranoid here that I'm just hitting continue a lot to wait for the Byrne deal to be done. My first game of the season against Man City is less than a month away. And I've signed one goalkeeper. We lost 4-1. We lost 4-1. Worst thing is, it was actually playing the best 11 as well. We're just washed, it turns out. Byrne has rejected Friday. I've literally spent the last 20 minutes in continuing planning stuff around £60 million, and Graham Byrne's turned them down. And now Cardozo wants to cry. And now I want to cry. Get me out of here. I feel like sometimes with transfer specials, there's a load of stuff going on dealing-wise, and then sometimes in transfer specials, there's just, the pre-season stuff, the pre-season amble, moving stadium, dealing with board requests, dealing with babies who want to leave the club, and that is sometimes what the transfer special is. That's what it is today, and signing a new goalie. I promise you, There will be signings next time. There has to be signings. I need to get some players in. As things stand, my first team is 21 players, which is not enough players for a season in the Champions League, funnily enough. Now, you know what? The nice thing about me not panicking about the transfers is now you guys can go down in the comments and tell me how I fix this mess. What positions do I not have the right amount of depth in? What players am I severely overrating? Or do you just agree with me that the starting 11 here is just quite a good starting 11 and there's no point in overhauling it too much? Please let me know. I'm going to go and offer out Burn again. And see if we get a £60 million bid again. I hope I've not missed my opportunity. Also, if you were going to sell Graham Burn, how much are you selling him for? Is 60 million me being greedy? Is it less? Should it be more? I don't even know at this point. Really hope you guys enjoyed today's kind of transfer pre-season special. If you did, go down below. Show some love on Monday. We're splashing the cash. We need to spend money. I need to deal with unhappy players. Come back to see how we get on. I'll see you next time for more. I'm out.